Hey, Chael, Glenn Bell. I have a question about MMA interview etiquette. Ariel Helwani is good about giving a guy a warning. By example, he'd say, Chael, you're fighting Fedor this month. We had him on the show and, well, surprisingly, he talked, but also he had something to say about you. Do you mind if we play the clip? That gives you a chance to say, no, I don't want him promoting himself right now during the time when I'm here to promote myself. And in addition, he's talking badly about me. And I've heard guys say no before, so I know that's a thing. I also saw George Masvidal on the Dan Le Batard show, and he said, oh, George, we had Kobe Covington on the show, and we have a clip. Oh, and by the way, he's talking about you. Click. And then George just had to sit there and take it. And I'm not being funny. His eyes were actually open. At one point, his mouth dropped, and he just had to deal with it. So my question is, what do you think is proper MMA interviewing etiquette? Should you warn a guy, hey, this other guy was talking badly about you. Can I play the clip? To give you a chance to say no. Or should you just look at the guy you're interviewing, press play, and make him take it?
Glenn, you play the clip. And you know what? That is very polite of Ariel Helwani, but that is not a rule. That's how I'm interpreting your question. I think you're asking me, what is the rule? If you went through journalism school, as Ariel did, is that a class that is taught? No, it is not. That is a courtesy that Ariel extends. But it does not make Le Batard wrong to not do it. And quite frankly, you're making TV. I mean, in all fairness, you're making TV. Those opportunities are media opportunities. And yeah, you're going to run into a host that tries to stir something up. You're going to run into a host, you're in the back, you're having a cup of coffee together. Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, it's great to meet you. Everything's great. The camera goes on, his face changes, and he puts a finger in your face. He double crosses you. Happens all the time. You got to be ready for it. Happens to politicians far higher, greater level than it happens to an athlete. But that host knows once the camera turns on, I've got you. Because the worst thing that you can do, the only thing that you can do if you don't like where this is going is get up and walk out. Well, guess what happens if you get up and walk off a set? Glenn, I will bet you that every single guest in the history of television who has ever got up and walked out of an interview, you've seen. Now, there aren't very many, but I'll bet you've seen them because it's epic. It's a win. See, these things start to turn into a battle, and they shouldn't be. A lot of hosts, and this does not include Le Batard. Le Batard, Cuban, Masvidal, Cuban, they kind of have like their own thing. Those two actually really get along well. I've spoken to Le Batard privately. He doesn't ask me about anybody. Hey, how's Dana doing? Hey, what's Coker like? He asked me about George Masvidal. He really likes Masvidal. But Le Batard also knows how to make television, so you got to understand that when you're going in. One thing that I will tell you, whenever you're making TV and you go into those interviews, you never know what's going to happen, and you do have to be prepared for it. And if you have some skeleton in your closet that made some level of news, the media reporter feels incumbent upon him to ask the question. But it stops right there. He does not feel incumbent. He does not act as though he's the FBI and he's got the right to question you and that you're there under subpoena. All he has to do is ask the question so that people don't come back on him and go, hey, that was a softball thing. How did you not bring up the blah, blah, blah? How did you possibly skip over? All he has to do in that world is ask the question. He doesn't grade it. See, we all have a mentality of junior high. We all have a mentality of third grade. We all have a mentality that whatever answer we give is going to be graded on an A, B, C, D, or F scale. In an interview, you do not have to answer a question. You have to learn how to handle a question. I could not encourage people to listen. I got a call from a governor. And then he called me again, and he called me again because he liked my advice. I won't say what governor. And he asked me about doing this. And this is what the very first thing I told him, do not answer questions, you handle questions. You take the question. As soon as that question is asked, nobody remembers that question again. Nobody. As soon as you say 3 words, the only thing that they remember is the 3 words that you said, and they're listening for the next 3 words that you say. Don't think you have to answer. You are not under subpoena, and you are not being graded like you were in school. Feel free to turn in an F. Hey, what do you think about the weather today? You know, I got to tell you, for breakfast this morning, I woke up, I had some pancakes, and when the pancakes are going, I thought, you know what I want? I want to have some bacon. So I start sizzling the bacon. The bacon creates this smell. It ends up waking up my dog. My dog comes in, my dog, see what I just did there? Just handle the question. Whatever he says, don't feel you have to answer. You are not being graded. This is not a test. And even if it were, feel free to get an F. Don't forget that. Always remember that. Handle questions. Don't think you have to answer them.